All right, so my name is Aaron, and I also work for 2-Bit Circus. And yeah, so I started off on this project, and as Dan mentioned, it had been started by Rena. And then we brought on another guy, 'cause she had to leave, who had no experience with Touch Designer. It was his first project, and he figured it out as he went along, and he did an amazing job considering that. But then when I took it over, it was really, it was confusing, and you know, it seemed like a bunch of people had worked on it, so it was tough. So yeah, so it's all done. This is the interface now for it. What they wanted was a way to kind of make like little segments, like, oh, I want to move the arm over here to the Ferris wheel and have, you know, that's one little segment. And then another segment would do something else. And then they wanted to create segments and then kind of put them all together into a whole sequence. So this allows you to set keyframes and create these graphs, kind of move them around, and then once you create a segment, then you can just you can append the segments together, and then you can put it into the sequencer, and that's what you see here is this main graph here is the sequencer, is like all the graphs of everything together. And that was kind of nice because it lets you see, because you kind of do everything compartmentalized, and then once you put it into the sequencer, then you can kind of say, oh, well, this you know, this needs to line up with this, you know, and kind of move things around relative to the other channels. So so yeah, so that was, then the other thing that they wanted to have, oh yeah, you can also scale the stuff. So you can create a sequence, and then you're like, okay, well that works. Now I just want it to run faster, so you can just like scale the whole sequence and have it run faster. And then they wanted, then there's also the eye, which I think you saw. So that's like this kind of weird spherical projected, you know, curved screen eye that we're using. This is the eye. Right now it's just kind of a placeholder. It's not necessarily like what it's going to look like in the final version. So they wanted to be able to have this eye look around and also to be able to show movies on it. So have little, and they wanted it to blink and all that kind of stuff. So just as like a side note here, that if you look at this image, or in this one, this is what you see when you're operating the system. But the full window actually looks like this, and that's so, like, probably a lot of you know this with like software design and stuff, but if you don't, if you have multiple monitors, like, don't create a new window for another monitor. Like, create one window that spans all of your monitors and have everything just drawn once. Or, you know, just drawn into one window. And like just doing this made it run twice as fast. So, you know, just as like a little, if you didn't know that, it's a good practice. And so right in here is how the movie sequencer works. And I wanted to have like as simple of a sequencer as possible. So the way it works is you just click on the video folder. It points to all the images or videos you want, and then there's one of these graphs here is an index. So if you at 5 seconds, if you want the fifth video to play, you just put the constant graph line up to 5. And then when you go back down to 0, then it'll show the eye again. If you go up to 20, it'll play or show image number 20. And then there's just an opacity graph as well. So between those two things, and the image stays up as long as the constant is set to like a value. And with just those few things, you can like create like a whole movie sequence. And so then once you hit record, you can use this little XY slider here and move the eye around as you're playing the whole sequence. So the robot is going through its motions, and then you can move the eye around, puppeteer it kind of in real time, which Mike was really happy about, since all the other stuff was very technical. And then, so this is Touch Designer. This is like the main network where everything is happening. You have like the functionality here, like setting the keyframes, and then this is like the sequencer, and then it gets fed over here into the serial. This is all serial stuff, and then this is like kind of the main menu here at the top. It's kind of cool, like sometimes when these are like Touch Designer, like if you don't know, like you can zoom into these different nodes here, and there'll be things going on inside them, and some of them end up looking pretty cool. I like the kind of the patterns that end up coming about in these. So I'm not going to get into like explaining what all these things are doing, but it's kind of interesting to see this stuff. So this was like one of the things here that was like kind of like a little more complicated than I initially thought it was going to be, but this was like how the eye is warped, because since it's projected, it's like a projector with like a spherical screen. You have to pre-distort all of the video before it's projected, or otherwise, like as the iris would move to the side, it won't look right. It'll get like squished. So this, you have to create a cube map. You have to put the iris, create a cube map, and then you have to convert the cube map to an equirectangular. Then you have to wrap that onto a sphere. Then you put a camera inside of that sphere, which will then create another cube map, and then you then have to convert that to equirectangular, wrap that onto a half sphere, and then put a camera in there that then feeds to your to the monitor. So it was a lot of stuff going on, a lot more than you'd think. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of my thing. Yeah.
Who wants a fish?
There you go.
Hey, so the only video surface, that's one curved screen.
You mean, are there any other monitors or anything?
Yeah, or any
no,
other video.
that's the only.
And is the transition from the eye to other clips have like to do with the narrative of the robot at all? Like it also, like, I guess what I'm wondering, is it just like a random clip appearing in an eye, or is it like couched in the language of an eye, it's as if it's in the iris or something? I'm just wondering about the creative behind it.
Right now it's set up to kind of it doesn't show the eye at all anymore. It just shows the video,
Mm-hmm.
which is also corrected to fit, so it's not distorted. But yeah, it's all in context of the show, which Mike Surowich will talk about.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awesome.